Hey guys, Mark Holmes here, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, man, this doesn't work. Um, it's kind of funny. Sometimes things hit you and you realize things that you hadn't thought of before. And it hit me this morning. I always say, I worked for a general contractor that was doing work down at the Smithsonian and down the mall and stuff. And I loved working the work. You know, when we were working on museums and building things out, being there and being part of stuff that literally hundreds of thousands of people will go by. They'll never know me or the work that we did, but to do that work was incredible for me. The hard part for me was actually sitting at the desk in between the jobs, doing the planning. I'd go crazy sitting behind the desk, and I always said that, I can't sit behind a desk because I need stimulus. I need something to always keep my mind going. And if I'm doing the same thing over and over again, it's crazy. And you guys notice that, I guess you could say I'm a jack of all trade. I mean, I do plumbing, I do electrical, I do framing, I do custom cabinetry. And for me, I always have to have something new to stimulate my brain. And I realized something this morning because I just did my regular, I've got two channels. Actually, I got three. I've got the woodboard one. I'm going to start doing more of that again now. It's the off season. But I've got the other channel, which after this one was shut down, I started using more and more. And I start every day, every single morning with my cup of coffee, sitting behind this desk, talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And while I'm waiting for Michael to get ready to go ahead and we can leave for work, I'm sitting behind my desk. I'm doing my research here for the next video coming up. And it hit me that I do sit and work behind the desk. I take a lot of pride in doing this. I envy people who get to do this for a living. You mean you can get paid to talk about football all year long? You can go to games and report on it. It literally blows my mind. I do this because, one, I have to keep busy. I have to be talking. I have to be doing something or I go crazy. My mind is always racing, and if it's not getting stimulus, I'm nervous. When I went to go to DMV last week and had to just sit there and there was no internet access, I literally was going crazy. I felt like getting up and running away because it just drove me crazy. But I love this because football is always changing and it's always full of problems that you have to solve. Because football, you only have X amount of money that you can spend. You cannot double down like it used to be in the 90s where we could just kind of stockpile players, hide them on IR, and it didn't matter what you paid them. And you always had people there. It's a guessing game. Do I have enough offensive linemen to make it through the season? And do I have enough people if they get hurt? Do I pay this guy because he's going to make better plays than this guy over here? So for me, it's constantly evolving. A lot of times, it's kind of almost funny because I like to argue. I like to be right. And a lot of times, I will say things. And it's not that I'm just making things up. I don't just go ahead and just say, pull something out of my rear end and say, here you go, this is what's going to happen. I try and do research. I try and look at things that have happened in the past because a lot of things happen in the past keep repeating. And I look at the tendencies and situations. So I honestly don't just guess. I look at the numbers. And that's the way I am because I'm analytical. So I'm sitting here. And people have been talking about how bad Dak Prescott is, versus other quarterbacks in the league. And literally, I had the TV on and I'm listening to Shannon Sharp talking about the game. And that hurt. This Ram game, it hurt. God, it hurt. But we are fed so much crap that it's just speculation from these talking heads. And I don't know if it's just because they always have to have an argument that you have to pick a side to disagree on because you never hear them say, you know what, I agree with you on that one. They're never. So you have to look at it from, okay, Shannon, this is the narrative. We need you to fill in that argument. Skip, this is the narrative. We need you to fill in the argument. Because here it is. I'm sitting here listening to Skip and Shannon. Skip. And his argument was Dak Prescott was garbage. He was just average in that game. And, Jared Goff had a better game. Okay. Here was his rationale. Here was his rationale on why Jared Goff was better. Well, it's hard for a quarterback to hand off the ball 45 times and still stay in the game. So for him to be able to keep his head in the game, handing off the ball 45 times, he played better than Dak Prescott. What the F are you talking about? I dare say when you're a running team, with the NFL leading rusher and you can only get 50 yards rushing, you become one-dimensional and you throw for a TD and you run for a TD, you keep your team in there all the way to the end, and you're saying that he was outplayed by a guy who had to hand the ball off 45 times? And see, this is the reason why I like to sit here and I like to crunch numbers. And every day, I'm doing multiple things at the same time. I can be in my workshop building a cabinet and my mind is thinking about the numbers and stuff. I can be building something and I'm having a conversation with you guys. I can be cooking dinner because my mind is always going and trying to put these figures together. And I'm sitting here looking at this stuff and crunching these numbers so that way when I come down here, when I sit down and say, guys, this is what I see, that I truly believe it and I have the information to back it up. And the funny thing about all this is I get laughed at a lot. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot, man. I heard on NFL Network that... Oh, really? You mean NFL Network that said we were going to be 5 or 7 wins on the season? I said 11-6. I was close. Technically, we were 11-7. I'm sorry. Yeah, 11-7. When people said that Dak Prescott was going to be RG3 and that regression was it, he just had one great year, I said no, give it some time. Understand, the team is in transition. You're losing Jason Witten. You're losing a Dez Bryant without a replacement. You're bringing in a whole new group of people that haven't worked together. I said, give it time. It will get better and better and better as the season goes on. Ha ha! You're an idiot. You're just a Dak apologist. Dak sucks. Admit it. And week after week, people kept pounding. When we were 3-5, oh my God, they kept pounding on me. Kept pounding on me. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. When I said Calais Campbell was the guy we needed to go after. Too old. That guy? No. 6 or 7 sacks a year and, 40 or 50 tackles. No, you don't need him. I tell you what, if you had that guy at defensive tackle, I guarantee the Rams wouldn't have run for 260-some yards. And oh, by the way, the year I said sign him, he was second in defensive MVP. So understand, I'm constantly striving to bring you the best information. Give you the numbers to back it up, and at least make an argument for why they're wrong. So, in the meantime, I got some more numbers to crunch here. So, guys, I'll see you soon. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to turn the camera off.